lot of soul.
This is Bass Talk Live. Your host, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrack. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Lose, Strike King Lures, Bass Cat Boats, Ducket Fishing, Spro, AFCO, Big Bite Baits, Sunline, and TH Marine. BTL coming at you. Good Monday, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where Matt and I are going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Dude, it is so good to have you back in studio. Today is your day, man.
I don't need a whole day.
Yes, you do.
Why?
Because everything that happened over the past 2 weeks, dude.
It has been kind of a
People want to hear it from you, man.
debacle.
So the entire show today
It's
really
like the
devoted
rest of my life.
to Matt breaking down what has taken place in the past 2.5 weeks. And folks, it is quite entertaining.
Some good stories. There's a lot of things that went wrong that were out of my control. A lot of
Man,
things
you're,
that went wrong that were in my control.
Now let's kick off by saying this. All right,
Yeah.
I had Frank on last week, and
which was awesome.
I came up with this term of the rusty nail.
Yeah.
When you were going through all the adversity that you were going through, I was like, dude, man, he's got a rusty nail instead of the golden horseshoe. Now, what happened from a feedback standpoint from the fans about the rusty nail?
I had all these people that were talking about a rusty nail and horseshoes, and I was like, what the heck is going on? So I had to call you last week sometime and be like, what have you guys been, because you know, I've just been out, I haven't watched any of the replay. I
No,
watched
you've
a
been
little
focused,
bit of,
man.
yeah.
You've had a lot going on.
Tunnel vision. So,
Yeah.
I did listen to a lot of the part of the show where Frank was talking about, you know, when he went out on the road, he would get tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And nothing else would matter. So that's what has been taking place over the past couple weeks. It was the Bass Nation Let me just clarify this before we get into it. So I fished Neely Henry on Saturday.
Yes.
Got out of there at like 4. Drove 700 miles to Eufaula, Oklahoma.
Okay.
On Saturday night, got in at
Sunday
3 a.m.
morning.
Sunday morning, charged the batteries for 2 hours, slept on the couch for an hour, got up, fished the Bass Nation yesterday at Eufaula, got home, and immediately went to bed, and then got up at 5 this morning, and then drove 2.5 hours into BTL.
Yeah, but hang on a minute.
Rain,
you left out the first week, though.
No, I just meant my last 36 hours, which
Okay.
is why I was
All right.
confused for a brief moment. I'm running on adrenaline and original V8 here, so
That's good stuff there.
yeah, it's healthy stuff.
Yeah.
But no, the whole thing started at Toledo Bend for the Bass Nation Regional. I don't know how you want to break it down. We've got a ton of stuff that has gone down since I've been in studio. We got another Open going on this week.
Yeah.
We got all sorts of stuff. We got Cody Bird, who's been around for forever.
Yeah.
He's in the Bassmaster Classic now.
Which is cool. Cody's a good
Jason
dude, man.
Christie dominating all the divisions of the Opens. Lake Fork coming up for the final
but
Elite
the
Series
people want to hear
event.
about you,
The
dude.
schedule for MLF
Oh,
came
we're going to
out.
get into that.
They scheduled it.
We're going to get into
Dead
that.
nuts on top of
Dude.
another event in Texas.
We're going to get into that.
We could talk about all that stuff instead of...
No, but the fans want to hear about you. Dude, I could show you a stack of emails, all right, from people that please pass on congratulations to Matt. Make sure Matt talks about what happened. You know, what happened at Toledo Bend. People want to know, dude. And folks, I'm going to tell you right now, what Matt did at the Open at Neely Henry was most impressive because the adversity that you were going through, of which he's going to explain here in a minute, but to power through the adversity and the avenues that you've never been down before. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah.
From an adversity standpoint, to be able to go out, find something in a day and a half, and then have a top 12 performance in an Open, plus trying to make the Elite Series all at the same time. Probably the most significant. I know you could talk about the Costa, but just when you look at the mental aspect, the pregame aspect, the adversity aspect, probably your best performance in your career. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I'd agree. Now let me put this in perspective, because I'll just go back and I'll start and I'll just tell the whole 2.5 week story from the start.
Yeah.
Who finished in the Open 11th in the Open at Sam Rayburn? Who finished 11th in the Bassmaster Classic last year?
I have no idea.
Name someone you ever know who has ever finished 11th in a tournament. Case in point. So I'm putting it in perspective. It's a freaking 11th place finish. Big for me personally, but I mean, the saying is nobody remembers second. Well, 11th is 9 places removed from second, Mark. So I understand that going into that, but so we'll start. I guess the last time I was here, I was getting ready to go to the Bass Nation Regional.
Yes.
And this is every state does it differently. This is used to be the Federation Nation. What Ike Anelli, what Brandon Polinick, Jamie Horton, Caleb Summerall, all those guys went through to make the Elite Series. But it's trying to make the tournament that Kirchhoff won to get to the Classic that he won in '94. So I had made the state team and had gotten pushed back because of COVID until October on Toledo Bend. And it's the top 10 guys in the state. And I mean, it was kind of stacked. It was like Jared Miller, who had fished the Elite Series, and John Sukup, who had fished in the Forest Wood Cup, and DeGraff and Reed, who'd made like 18.
A lot of big names in Oklahoma.
Yeah. So I go down there, and it is ultra tough. Like, I don't know if there's any place in the country that's fishing like really good right now. Outside, I don't even know if up north is. It's just tough everywhere. And it's like this weird kind of turnover transition deal. And I figure out a deal. I'd gone up the week before, and I talked to a really good dude who was like, man, you might want to kind of check some of this stuff out. So I ran the pattern. I got a few bites at it. And I actually, on the last day of practice, was going around this dock, and I was throwing a big jig. And it, like, the docks there are pole docks, so they set up to where you can like kind of be tucked behind. And Nick Kincaid, who's on my team, pulls up on the other side of the dock and didn't see me. Okay. And then we meet, and as we're crossing, my jig goes boom. So I just like hit the button, and I'm just like fake working my jig under this dock. Like, oh yeah, it's a tough one out here, Nick. 5 bites a day.
Meanwhile, it's just swimming off.
So I shake the thing off. So the next morning, first morning of the tournament, I draw. I forgot his name. He was really good because he probably learned some new words by the end of that day. I had a meltdown at the end of that day. We'll get into that later. That he had to witness. He's an amazing co-angler based on what happened.
Yeah.
Very calming influence. So anyway, everything's all good. We go that day. I said, hey, dude, we're going to be running docks. I said, and I think I can put together a good bag. I'm not sure I can catch a limit, but I think I can catch some 4, 5, 6 pounders.
When it's tough.
And really, really tough.
Yeah.
So I take off. I got the GoPro running. I run right back to that dock that I had that good run. I turned to him. I said, man, I shook off a big in here yesterday. So a guy from my state was there, and I was like, let it go under my breath. About 3 pitches in, just gets heavy. Whack. 5-pounder, boat flip it. That's how it's done. So I said, all right, now we run to the next dock. I said, I shook off a good one here in practice, man. Flip underneath there, whack, 3-pounder. Now I got 2 for 8. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning. Going to the third spot. I said, I have heard that sound before. Shift actuator.
Yeah.
So now I'm dead in the water. 2 in the boat. And I said, that's okay. Crazy stuff happens when you're broke down. Would you not agree, Mark?
Oh, yeah.
So I end up fishing around, and I catch a 14 and an 1/8-inch spotted bass. Cool. 3 for 10, ultra tough. I survived. Don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow because I know there are no shift. I mean, it's not like a part that you could get. It's like $1,300. It's a warranty deal. There's no dealers there. I'll be off the water. So I call the tournament director. I said, hey, man, this is the situation. Same thing that happened in the Costa. Yeah. Can I call another team member who's fishing in the area, have him come, get my co-angler, take my fishing? Yeah, it's all good. So I ended up with 3. He didn't have any. Brock comes, picks up my fish. Oh, man, that's a good one. Yeah, I wish I'd freaking been able to fish the other 10 docks I had one under. Who knows if they'd have bit. So we go in. Meanwhile, I'm out there in the shift actuator. The damn boat starts. But my fish are already on the weighed in, like, because I'd killed my trolling. I said, I'll try it one more time. I tried it 100 times, and it's like some wire gets, I don't know what it is. It says it's in drive when it's not in drive and neutral, but I got it to start. But I look at the standings, it says 2 fish for 6 pounds, 4 ounces or something like that. And I'm like, well, I had a 5 and a 3 and 3 fish. What the hell? So I get in, and they'd said my spotted bass was short, and I had a meltdown.
And you weren't even there.
And I wasn't even there to see it. They sent me a picture of it. They sent me just the tail. It's not even the whole damn fish on the butt board. It's just the tail of the fish as proof that it was short. And I'm sitting on the phone with the tournament director going, hell, I could make a 10-pounder short if I put its tail on the 13. And I'm like, they're jamming the fishes down. I had a meltdown. I called Hank Weldon, who wasn't even at the tournament, and yelled at him. I had to call back and apologize. I had a melt. I got a boat that doesn't work. I weighted a short fish. It's super tough. I would have been in the top 10 after day 1.
Yeah.
My co-angler's standing there going, this guy's having a meltdown. I mean,
is any of this on the GoPro?
Oh, no.
Oh, that would have been epic.
No, none of that is.
Okay.
So anyway, I get that out of my system. But now I don't know what the heck to do on day 2. So Jared Miller, who's actually leading after day 1, had an idea. He's like, hey, man, if it's starting sometime, he goes, you might be able, and Brock said, too, you might be able to drive it down the road and hit as many potholes as possible. You can't make this up. You cannot make this up. And hit as many potholes as possible and get the wires to where you can spin the prop so it'll start again, because it had locked up when I put it back on the trailer, right?
Yeah.
So I go do that, and I blow a hydraulic brake line. So now it's dangling down. So now I don't have trailer brakes. You can see it's still dangling down. I've done that like twice. So I get back, and I have to preface this with, I totally forgot the first time I put my boat in on Toledo Bend for practice. This is 3 days prior to this day 1. I back it off the ramp, and it's a really steep ramp, and the boat like lurches off all of a sudden, and the bow hook goes dead nuts through the spare tire that's in the middle of the trailer, and it just goes
So you have
and
no
I've just
spare
got
tire.
a rip in the side hole. Yeah. So that started it. So anyway, this happened. So now I'm like in 33rd. I'm still in it. So day 2, I go out and I draw a young kid from Missouri. I said, hey, man, I said, we might get 1 or 2 starts out of the boat. We might get no starts out of the boat. I said, if we run, I said, we might get stranded. We might not. I said, I said, we'll get stranded. I said, and it's windy today. I said, so we're going to start next to the ramp and see if we can't make something happen there, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't make anything happen there. Now I'm getting frustrated. So I said, screw it, I'm running. So it starts, and I get it up, and I get all the way, is that called the Pendleton Bridge, that giant bridge? So I cut across the left-hand side, and I get like 8 pillars down, and all of a sudden the boat just comes off pad. But it's still running. But I've got no forward and no reverse and no alarm system, right?
That's not good.
And I'm like, what the heck? And I can't get it in drive reverse. So I'm like, oh, the shift actuator's completely out. So I end up spending the entire second day fishing 750 bridge pilings. Don't catch anything. Put the thing on the trailer. And 0 the second day. End up like, so whatever.
Out.
Now I've got to find a shift actuator. This is where things get interesting.
Yeah.
I was given the number to someone who might have access to a shift actuator and be in the area and be able to help me out, and they informed me that they would not help me out with it. So now I was really in a pickle, which whoever might have been in the Tennessee, Alabama area with a shift actuator that they could have installed, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to call in all the favors. I'm calling Mercury. No. And these things are hard to find because the Mercury's performed great as far as
there's an
performance
issue.
Running. Shift actuator screwed a lot of people.
Yeah, I think there's a recall on it.
Yeah. And apparently they're not super enthusiastic to put it in. Anyway. I don't even want to get into that. I'm leaving it at that.
Yeah.
So the next call was the Bass Cat, right? But Rick was at, I mean, that's how desperate I am. We're making a call into the band.
Actually,
Rick,
you called me.
I called you and said, do you think we should call Bass Cat? They've got to know someone like a Mercury dealer or something that we can put it in. And Rick was at the U.S. Open and Jason Brewer. He's like, ended up getting a hold of, this is where things get crazy. Am I rambling here? Is this all making sense?
No. So we got a hold of Jason.
Jason finds Bucks Island Marine, which is in Gaston, Alabama, which is where I was headed the next day to start practice for the Bassmaster Open on Neely Henry. Overnighted a shift actuator there. Now, let's back up to 2010. You have a boat driver on the California Delta and Clear Lake, Dan O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
Who then works with Bass Zone, gets in, starts riding, helps cover tournaments for years, gets into the industry, starts advanced angler, eventually gets into marine dealership, working at boat dealerships, moves from California to Gadsden, Alabama, and works at Bucks Marine now, which just became like the newest Bass Cat dealer. They do like 3 or 4 different brands of boats, right?
Yeah.
So now there's a Bass Cat dealer with someone that I know there, who I know will take care of me, and there's a shift actuator. So I roll in. It's Saturday morning. I roll in and I say, man, let's get that shift actuator on. Really appreciate it. Call Jay. Yeah, here's a box right there. Matt Pangrak shift actuator. 2 hours I'll be on the water. Saturday morning I'll have Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and part of Wednesday on Neely Henry.
Yeah.
Well, they don't even look at it. The mechanic takes one look at it and he's like, hey, dude, your lower unit's imploded. And I'm like, huh? And he's like, yeah, dude, look at your lower unit. And it's like cracked on both sides and expanded. And I'm like, well, what the hell? That was not like that yesterday. Like, I mean, I was examining things to try to get the shift actuator to work. And he's like, I don't know what to tell you, but clearly your lower unit's imploded. Mm-hmm. So they take it off, braided line wrapped around the prop shaft that had eaten away the seal.
Yeah.
Gotten all the lubricants out of it and imploded the lower unit.
Not good.
So now we're in a pickle because it's not a warranty item, it's an insurance item. Yeah. So I'd never filed an insurance claim, so I talked to Becky, a very nice lady somewhere in the United States who got me
Seattle. She was in Seattle.
Okay, got me a claims number.
Yeah, from Safeco.
And then they were like, we don't have a lower unit. It's like an $8,000 lower unit, and we don't carry that in stock. And because of COVID, they're a month and a half behind on lower units, and they've checked with everyone in the area. So it comes to find out, long story short, they find a lower unit, but it's in a different state, and they're closed on Sundays. They're closed on Monday, too, but they sent a guy Monday morning to pick it up. So now I've got Saturday, Sunday, and part of Monday that I'm not going to be able to practice. But the guys at Bucks Island were so cool with me. They were like, hey man, we've got a random racing lower unit that we can put on this thing, and you just really can't hit anything with it, and then you can run it for like 2 days of practice. And he's like, it'll sound weird and it won't perform great, but it works, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can get around. So I'm like, sweet, thank you guys so much. So I go put the boat in with the racing lower unit on, and it was also the shift actuator, and then it completely went out. So I was dead in the water again on Sunday morning.
Yeah, that's right.
Sunday morning.
Because you sent me a picture.
I put in at the ramp, and I never even got it in gear.
Yeah.
So I'm like, crap, what do I do now? So I trolling motored the entire day on Sunday until my batteries went dead, and then Austin Cransford towed me in, and I put it on the trailer. So then all I got to do was whatever you could fish on a trolling motor in 12 hours. So Monday, it comes back. They have the shift actuator. They do put that in. The new lower unit comes in. I've got the claims number started. I get out there Monday evening and don't really catch that much. And
Did you have a plan?
Yeah. So all this happened. I actually talked to, it's like 3 people removed. So like, I had gotten there on Saturday morning and didn't go off limits till Monday. And I had someone point me in the right direction because they're very familiar with it. Like I said, man, he just put me in an area, like my Spoken hub theory, right?
Yeah.
A dude knows his way around the lake, and he's like, it can go down in this area.
Yeah.
And here's a couple things to go down. So I said, screw it. With limited practice, I'm literally just going to focus on that area and not know, what's in it. So
right.
I stayed in that area 100%. So I did Tuesday. It was okay. Wednesday morning, I had like a 3 3/4 and a 4.5 to 5 pound spot. Eat a crankbait. And I was like, oh my.
That's the last day of practice.
Yeah, and you had to be off the water at noon because, I was rooming with Biggs and he had gotten on a little crankbait thing and I had put us in an area of the lake and it was like kind of coming together and I was talking with Hallman and Hallman's like, it sucks. And, you could tell that, a lot of guys were saying it's going to take 7, 8, 9 pounds a day to get a check. So I was like, oh, I might be on a little something. Caught a couple more and was like, okay, I'm going to roll with this. And then I hadn't had any fish eat a chatterbait, but like there's docks you can skip there. So it was 100% a junk fishing deal. So I didn't draw a co-angler, had an early boat draw the first morning.
Yeah.
And I did have one other area, is like a backwater that had a primrose, pennywort.
Yeah.
In like 8-10 inches of water, had a couple bites out of there. So I started in there, and I was the third boat in there.
Well, hang on a minute. Back up a minute. Your last day of practice, though, didn't you have some more adversity?
Oh, God, yeah. So I get the thing fixed on Tuesday, and I'm running down the river. This wasn't really adversity, but just hilarious. I'm running down the river, and the spring on my hot foot breaks. So now I can only go wide open or idle, and then you have to like manage it with your foot. So the whole rest of the day and Wednesday, I'm going down the river. So I had to go back to Bucks Island, buy a $25 spring for the hot foot, and then have someone put it on because I couldn't figure out how to get it around the little metal thing, and I didn't want to mess with the throttle cable. Yeah, so that was that. So there's the throttle cable. So
all right,
anyway.
so what are you thinking? Day one, boom, your number's called. You're waiting for your number to be called.
Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's going to be a total grind. I need to catch 2 largemouth out of the grass, and then I need to go crank seawalls and fill a limit out and hope that I get a lucky bite. I swear to God, that was my game plan.
All right.
So I go in to the Primrose and I catch 2 good largemouth. And my plan was to be out of there by 9 a.m. And I'm idling out at 8:59 with 2 good largemouth.
All right.
Then I don't have anything till 11. Have not had a bite off a dock all week. Skip a chatterbait under a dock, 2-pounder. So there's my lucky bite.
Yeah.
Then I grinded a crankbait, little bitty crankbait for the rest of the day and got 2 more bites. So now I've got a limit. Then I was junk fishing. I go past a stretch of riprap that I hadn't been. There's current pumping out. There's a culvert underneath there. I rig up a drop shot, catch a 2 1/4 pound spot on my first drop. That calls out a little 14-inch or little 12-incher.
Yeah.
Then I call a couple more times off of that culvert, and I end up with 10 pounds the first day. It literally, as far as not knowing how you're going to catch them, was exactly how I thought I would catch them. Drop shot fish, crankbait, chatterbait, and a BFE.
All what you like to do.
Well, I wouldn't say I like to flip Primrose. I mean, that's 2 times in a row.
No, but you like
grass.
flipping, though.
Yeah, but not grass. It's grass 2 times in a row. Now I've waited a BFE in every single tournament.
Yeah.
And then the second day, I went out and had like one of the bigger bags of the day, 11.
Yeah.
11, 10. And I didn't even start in the grass because I was like boat 130. And I didn't really understand the current. It was very confusing. Someone explained it to me on the last day. I was like, why, when there's supposed to be current, is there, like, you don't notice it, and then all of a sudden it's going the opposite direction of what it should, and it's very confusing because it takes like an hour to get down, and then it's on whether Weiss Lake is open and the Neely Henry Dam is open, and how many generators or whatever they have on each. So is there flow? Is it rising? Is it dropping? Like if it's open at the top but not at Neely Henry, so then you have the water coming down and it comes up, but then it hits the Neely Henry Dam, like all that water that's coming down, and then it backwashes, which is basically like a miniature turnover every single day because you'd see like little chunks of water and stuff. So I'm trying to comprehend all this. And then like if you're fishing grass, sometimes it's in 2.5, and then the next day it's in a foot.
Meanwhile,
and you've got 200 boats on the water. So anyway, I got the second day, I catch like a 2 3/4 pound spot. right by 9 a.m. That's the only fish I've got. And then I catch 2, catch my second one. And then I'm going down this stretch that I hadn't been down before. And I'm throwing a little 0.5 and I like bang it off a rock or something and it just stops. We'll have to talk about this one because we'll have to play the video because I didn't even realize it at the time, but during my celebration, I said, I don't even care. And it makes it sound like I don't care about the fish, but what in my head is, I don't care what Jeffrey says about my celebration. Because you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like, yes.
But it can be misinterpreted.
And I go, yes, I don't even care. And in my head, it was like, Jeffrey's is like, massive over celebration, Matthew. Because this thing comes up and it's a 4-pound Coosa spot with a number 8 treble hook, like bull hooked on the outside of its top of its freaking lip.
Wow.
Like I could see all 6 hook points. And I tell my co-host, there's no way I'm going to land this fish. And I've seen this before and I've never done it because you could use nets in the coastas. I mean, this is the 6th tournament that I fished that you can't use a net in, right?
Yeah.
I've scored a couple national championships and stuff, but I've never had an issue like this. So I've got this big sucker on 10-pound test, little 0.5 crankbait, that little medium action cranked rod. And I start doing that thing where I walk him back and forth in like a figure 8 because he's hot. And I got him up by the boat and I can't put any pressure on him. I can't boat flip him. And my only chance is to get this thing tired to where I can then belly land him, right?
Okay.
So I start figure 8ing him back and forth.
Like Babe Winkleman, man.
No, like they do on TV, because that's where I'd seen it done on the TV. Like just, you do it and then you try to bring the crankbait back so it gets hooked again and then back. And I do this and I looked at it on my GoPro. I do it for like 2 minutes and 11 seconds. You know how long that is to have a freaking spotted, like a 4-pound spot?
It's a long time.
From the time I hook it. So I probably was doing that for a minute and a half.
It's a long time.
And he comes up on his side and I go down and I scoop him in. And that was my tournament right there.
Yeah.
Because that calls out a little 12-incher. I caught a couple on a drop shot and stuff. And then at the end of the day, I only had one of those little bitty crankbaits that I liked. And I pass a dock that's all broken down. I'm like, I don't really want to throw that plug up there because my batteries were dead because I was been a high bypass covering so much water.
Yeah.
So I just pick up a chatterbait and I'm like, why the hell is this thing not running right? And it's a 2.25-pound spot. I mean, literally with like 5 minutes left on a random dock. So there was my random fish on that day. And then day 3, like the little bait fish that those fish were suspending on for the
was
plug
raining
and
too,
stuff.
wasn't it?
Well, that didn't matter. And I mean, I got sucked up into the water willow after the morning bite, and I caught one on the top water. I mean, they just did not bite for me. They didn't really bite for anybody, but I had 2 for 3 10-by-8 and never caught another damn fish the whole rest of the day.
Did you think the rain would turn them on a little bit though?
Yeah, I thought there was a chance for a mega bag, but it was one of those deals where the cold weather, like it just felt like it was dead.
Yeah.
Like I was throwing a shower blows, and I turned to my co and I was like, it feels like really post frontal right now. And he's like, yeah, I agree. And we never got another bite after that.
All right.
So then I left. So I check in. I leave there at 3:45. Drive. It took me 10 hours to drive to Eufaula for the last Bass Nation qualifier. Get in at 2:45 to my buddy Brock's house. He's like, hey, we rented a house. I've got a couch. You can just plug your boat in with my cord. And
3 in the morning.
You have to be at the ramp at 6 something. And I get to the ramp. Everything's good. I have the coolest co-angler. She told me not to say how old she was. She's a 71-year-old lady who's fishing the Bass Nation as a co-angler. Her husband passed away, and he was an avid fisherman 6 years ago, and she didn't have any hobbies, and her family was like, you need to get out of the house. And she's like, well, he's got all this. I mean, she does. She had like high-end gear.
Yeah.
And she took up fishing, and now it's like her thing.
Okay.
Like she was throwing a spinnerbait.
Cool.
She was throwing a spinnerbait, a specific spinnerbait, because, that's the one that Dustin Wilkes suggested on his TV show that she'd throw. And she's like, I like that Dustin Wilkes show. There's not a lot of crap. It's just good fishing. And great co-angler. Anyway, so I just need... So the way it sets up is there's 4 tournaments, and you take your best 3 scores, right? So they'd fish Saturday and Sunday at Texoma last month, and I finished 5th in both of those, so I was good. So I just needed one score, either Saturday or Sunday at Eufaula. Well, I missed Saturday, which was my get out of jail free card, so I dropped that one, so I have to catch them on Sunday to make the state team. Otherwise, you have to wait a year and a half because you have to go through the whole next year, and then the regional wouldn't be till 2022, and then it's a nightmare. So I don't have any fish at like 9 at all. And I didn't
Eufaula.
Yeah, I didn't practice. And I didn't know what's going on. So I start running. Not spinning out, but I'm like, okay, I need to spend the next 3 hours because I'm fishing really good right now, I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need to check a couple things to figure out what's going on for where I want to settle down for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And I started outside of Eufaula Cove. And I went over to hospital. I went to the bridge. I went and I run to the far end of the triangle, and all of a sudden... And I shut down at that bridge. I'm like 7 miles away from the ramp. And I tell her, I said, we just did a show. I said, I do a podcast. And I said, there's a guy named Frank Scalish who's on it. I said, and I asked him a question. It's called, what is it called? Throwing a hub? Or ear.
Yeah, throwing an ear.
Slinging an ear.
Yeah.
What did I say? What's the term? I used it on my Instagram, at Matt Pangrack. Give me a follow.
Throwing an ear?
No, it's not throwing. They use some sort of fancy-ass term.
No,
Slung an ear.
Slung an ear. That's a fancy term.
That's the term. I got to use it. Man, I was just out there running the river, slung a damn ear.
Yeah.
So I slung an ear. So I said, I don't even want to look at this. So, jack plate all the way up, trim it all the way up. Yep, slung an ear. Half of the ears missing on the prop.
Not good. Now, let me ask you this. Did you have a spare prop in the boat?
No, it was in the truck. But here was also the key. If you also picked up on Frank Scalish, is I have not, for as much as I fished, and this is embarrassing to say,
We've talked about it.
I didn't have a prop wrench even. It's woefully underprepared. In hindsight, you freaking tow it up on the bank, you jack the thing up, you take your prop wrench, you pull the pin, you prop it off, you take the prop off, you're like, oh, look, that's expensive. You put the new one on, you're good to go.
Yep.
20 minutes. But that's not how I operate. I've never operated that way, have I?
No, never have.
So I tell her, I said, well, we're going to idle for an hour and a half. And I said, we're going to go back to that bank that I know 5 fish live on. I said, I'm going to try to make the state team. So at a straight idle, it was just like, it was fine. You could. Not even that bad. It sounded good on it because it was only like half of the ear. There was still an ear there. It wasn't like at the shaft of the ear.
Okay.
So I idle, and it's the one day that I had food in the boat. Thank God. I went through an entire pack of trail mix, a gas station sandwich, a Red Bull, some cookies.
Did you share with your co-angler? Or did she have food?
I didn't even ask. I don't know.
Oh, my gosh.
Anyway, so I'm just depressed because I'm sitting here thinking, God, I have to wait a year and a half now to make another state team because I want to win that Bass Nation championship really bad. And she's like, oh, I know. It's such a bummer. And then I was even more pissed because it was my own damn fault. Yeah. I didn't have it in there.
Yeah.
And I'm, telling her, there's lessons you got to learn the hard way, and this is one of them, and I'll never not have a spare prop, and I'm going to change it 50 times when I get off the water. So I passed this little, we're idle for an hour, and I'm like, how have I never noticed that little rock patch on the bank there? So I idle over there, pull a freaking chatterbait out, and catch me a 3 1/4 pounder. Now I've got one. So then we get back on it, idle for another 30 minutes, and I'm like, oh, I should catch one here. Anyway, I end up catching... Oh, so I go down the bank and I look at my rod box. I got that same damn little 0.5 tied on that I threw at Neely Henry to make the top 12.
Uh-huh.
Say, hell, mine work here. 12:51 limit. Finished like 6th in the tournament. Made the state team. Finished the year in 4th. All on the trolling motor. From 9 a.m. on, 7 miles from the ramp, not broken down.
Rusty Nail is definitely gone, dude. Now, I got to ask, because we've had this conversation numerous times on this show. Was that luck?
No, that wasn't luck.
That was not luck.
No. I don't even know what to call that because I started on that bank that I caught him on, but would I have spent 3 hours throwing a little crankbait and catching 12 pounds? No. Was there 12 pounds out there? Yeah, I didn't even cash a check. There were 6 or 7 other guys that had more weight than me. So could I have run around with a great prop on and caught 12? I feel confident. Would I have? I don't know.
No, I'm talking about the whole scenario, though. I mean, think about it. Think about what you just explained and picture that, fans, in your mind, that you fling an ear.
Slung.
Whatever.
Sling. Slang.
You've had no practice.
No sleep.
All right. No sleep.
No trolling motor, really. I had to run it on 4 or 5 the entire day. And then I would power pull down or go with the wind.
Now, I've always said on this show, and I am a firm believer that luck is earned. All right? It is definitely earned. But come on, dude. Seriously?
So here's the really weird part. I did the exact same thing last year to make the state team. Remember, I had a 3rd place in the Costa Championship, drove all night, had no trolling motor. My shift actuator was broken down, and I power pulled on a point at Keystone, caught 14 pounds, made the state team, and Brock had to tow me in.
Yeah.
2nd year in a row that I've broken down and caught one of the bigger limits of the day off the same spot to make a state team.
Luck is earned, dude, and you're definitely earning it. And hey, you got to know what to do when adversity takes place.
Yeah,
I'll give you that much.
I mean, it was crazy. I had the one, and then the second one hits, and I caught a couple white bass, and then it's like another 3-pounder, and it's just got this.
Were these retreads?
I know 1 or 2 of them were, but the others were really clean. It's a good area around there. I mean, the fish live there, especially this time.
It gets pounded.
Yeah,
it does. Well, seriously, it gets pounded.
That little bitty plug there.
So, dude, just an incredible span of 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. So now I go into
Louisville
in 2.5 weeks.
Now, what's your experience with Louisville? I know you had the college thing there one time.
I don't want to sound tacky in telling this story.
Tacky?
Yes, it's kind of tacky. So we fished the college national championship there a couple times back in the day.
Yeah.
And it's not a fantastic fishing lake, in my opinion. We had a couple days where we did great and didn't. So now every time I drive to Dallas, I shouldn't even be telling this story.
The bridge.
Yeah.
You go across the bridge.
I go across the bridge.
Yeah.
And I always put my middle finger out underneath the seat as I go across the bridge. Just to F you, Louisville. Because of my collegiate experiences on Louisville.
Now it could be the stepping stone in making the Elite Series.
I know, but I do, even to this day, every time I go across Dallas.
You better not do that anymore, man. You need it to treat you well.
On that bridge that you go across, I lost one on a shaky head that would have helped us get to the final day of the college national championship out there. Yeah. And remember, the first college national championship, you were there shooting photos, and Jordan Nichols windmilled a spitting image into my ear canal.
Yeah, I remember that.
And Mike Hawk, Jeff Crete, Kelly Jordan, and Wade Middleton were the ones who did the line trick, and they had to do it twice. One to get it out of the one in the ear, and one to get it out of the one that would pin the ear to my head.
Yeah.
So that's my experience on Louisville. Oh, Louisville's also the only place I caught a water snake on a 10-inch worm in 10 feet of water. So, yeah, I have some experience on Louisville.
All right. Well, dude, many props to you for what you accomplished and what you went through, the adversity. When I got that call, when I first got that call, I mean, you were kind of in panic mode. You were a little panic mode.
When?
It Toledo Bend.
2.5 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had these 2 tournaments coming up, and I mean, I'm sitting here going, literally, it's a tournament to make the national championship.
Yeah.
A tournament to stay in the Elite Series, not to mention the money that you spend in the Opens.
Yeah.
And a tournament to make the state team, all back to back to back. And
I've
already blown it in one of them and have a really good potential of blowing it in the other 2. And my fall goes from a great 3 or 4 string stretch of tournaments to just horrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm put in perspective. It's fishing. There's other things in life. I mean,
but it's what you want to do, though, man.
And I talk about it in the
you.
perspective of it being tunnel vision, as far as at that moment, that is what I'm focused on. And I think to have success, you have to say that is the most important thing that is going on, and this is the only thing that matters. Even though in the grand scheme of things, a shift actuator in a lower unit in a not even professional level fishing tournament, there's a lot of people who would take that stress over what they're dealing with in their everyday lives.
Yeah, it's a good perspective. All right. Bottom line is this. Luck is earned, and some people have said it out there on the instant feedback and on the comments. Talent rises to the top, too. And I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. There's not too many people that are not touring professionals that puts more time and effort into learning the game and applying everything that they learn and processing it to get to the point where you've reached right now. And, dude, bottom line is when you only have a day and a half practice and you go out and you go do what you did, it shows where your talent is and how much talent you have. Now, I want to ask you this.
Dude, it's a combination, though, because so you take that day and a half of practice. It's some of the stuff that I figured out. It's being put in the right area by someone who knows that lake, and then it's taking some of the stuff that Biggs figured out during his practice and then combining it all together into a good event. It's not just like, oh, I went out not knowing anything and figured it out in a day and a half. I mean, dude, there's 5 or 6 different pieces to this puzzle that all have to fit together to have a solid game plan. I think that's kind of what I've learned this year is, I mean, you don't want to be like, oh, well, I only did good because this guy told me to fish this section of the lake, or I only did good because this guy figured out this bait and told me about it. Well, you have to realize, in my opinion, it's every one of those things is little pieces. So if you have the right area and he says fish here, but you don't know how to fish it, you're not going to catch him there. Or if you know how to fish it and what bait to have, but not area, you're not going to fish it. Or if you don't put your twist on it, because you can't fish other people's water, right? So you have to make it your own water, and you can't fish other people's confidence baits. You have to make it your own bait. So when you find that mix and then apply it to the spoke and hub theory, it's really cool to see it all come together because you can't get spun out because you've built a foundation. And if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen, but you know you've got all the pieces of the puzzle there, and there's a way that it will fit together. Like a lot of the times I think when you get spun out, you're like, okay, I've got 7 puzzle pieces and there's like 5, and you're like scrambling through the couch cushions, looking in the vacuum cleaner for that missing piece. And you're like, well, I can't complete the puzzle without the missing piece. That's why I think you spin out and start running around. When you know all the pieces are there, but you can't figure out how they go together. I think that's when it's 12 and 1, and you're like, it's okay, man. I just keep rotating these pieces. Eventually, they're going to fit together.
No, it's massively cool, and I know a lot of people out there, a lot of the BTL fans, definitely pushing and hoping that you do well at this last one, pushing for you.
That was awesome. All the comments and stuff that I got on Instagram. I'm not a Facebooker. We'll leave that to your generation, Mark.
That's an old folks thing, huh?
But
I had no idea.
Yeah, the Instagram messages and stuff. I still have a bunch that I have to go back and answer. But dude, it's super cool. Super cool that guys take time out of their day to send a congratulations or a good luck message and stuff.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. All right, man. We've got a ton to talk about. Now, are you here next week? Because I looked on your calendar and it said something, but I couldn't remember what it was. It was like a nation thing or something.
Yeah, well,
did you make it?
I don't know if you were listening to the story earlier about the shift actuator in the lower unit.
Is that what that was?
That was the regional to qualify for the national championship.
Okay.
Which I'm not in.
So what was it Toledo Bend? I thought that was the regional.
It was the regional. The national championship is on Pickwick like in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Next week. So I would have been down there.
I didn't mean to bring that up again, man.
It's all good. Jared Miller ran way the hell up the lake and found some magical cypress stump.
So one person from Oklahoma?
Yep, Jared Miller. Right. Former Elite Series guy, if that name sounds familiar. He's the guy who ran his boat up the Alabama River into the kayak waters and then ripped the hole off on the way back.
All right, well, let's do this. We got a ton to talk about. And, dude, I want to talk about something yesterday that happened that infuriated me. I mean, I don't get
Fishing related?
No. I don't get mad about things.
Is that why you were
that
kind of
often.
short on the phone? Is that
No,
some
I was right.
residual
No,
angler?
I was right in the middle. I was on the way to go to mass
Oh.
when you called, so I was just like dealing with other stuff. Anyway, but no, man, something took place yesterday in sports, totally uncalled for, and me being a coach, somebody needs to be kicked off the team. Seriously, it was that bad, that bad. And I know you didn't see it because you were fishing, and we'll see if people know what I'm talking about. But just embarrassing, dude. Embarrassing to be a teammate. Totally embarrassing. So we'll get into that, and then we're going to talk Major League Fishing and the schedule. There was a story on CNBC that I want to share with you that I think is going to impact professional fishing, and we'll talk about that. So everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The ultimate fishing system starts with Lowrance HDS Live. The best fish finding tools, from chirp sonar and fish reveal to side scan and down scan imaging, and complete touchscreen control from your trolling motor to your big motor.
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Kevin, what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm just filling in for Billy.
I need a 660 shad crankbaits in the Series 5 model.
We're out.
You're not out. You got all kinds of them right there.
We're out.
Kevin, I need 6.
Have a lollipop.
I do not want a lollipop.
Have a lollipop.
Do you have it in sexy shad color?
AFCO's new Yuri performance shirts are made out of a new fabric. Aeromesh technology, Aeromesh fabric, really breathable. You know, it just doesn't stick to you whenever you're sweating. It's 105 in Florida. You know, you got sun beating down, there's hardly any wind. You know, your shirt won't stick to your back or anything like that. Any little breeze gets through it, and all the AFCO features that you like with the hood, not without a hood, depending on which one you like. It's got odor technology, so your pits don't stink whenever you're sweating. It has thumb loops. So whenever you're driving down the lake, 70 miles an hour in a bass boat, you got the thumb through here, sleeves won't roll up, so you have no excuse if you get sunburned. Any little breath of air gets through and cools you down, so make sure you check them out. Any fish, any water, any condition, AFCO has you covered.
Let's face it, fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
Hey everybody, Ty Faircloth here. Want to show you one of my favorite braided lines, SX1 30-pound Sunline braid. I use this braided line for a couple of different applications, and one of my favorites to use for this line is a swim jig. Casts great, and it's small diameter, and just works really great on a swim jig. Another technique I like to use for 30-pound SX1 Sunline braid is whenever I'm flipping like a light, say an 1/8 to a 1/4 ounce weight in grass, small diameter, I don't lose much action on my worm, just works great in those scenarios. So if you're looking for a braided line for a swim jig or fishing a light Texas rig, check out Sunline's SX1 30-pound braid.
All right, we are back on a Monday, kicking off the week. And before I forget, Matthew, I have to do a couple things here real quick. Let me put this graphic up. This week is the final week in the 4-week celebration of the 45th anniversary of TH Marine. And the special this week, 25% off select Blue Water LED lights. And you see the code right there, Blue Water Deals. So if you go to the TH Marine site and check out what they have to offer for the Blue Water LED, you put in that code, you get 25% off. And pretty cool deal, man. 45 years, long time.
Heck yeah.
All right, so
I need to put some of them lights in the next cat.
You should. All right, real quick, I received a text this morning from Frank Scalish.
All right.
And Frank wants to know, Mark, can you please ask Matt what he did differently in the tournament than he did in practice? Frank. So could you respond to Frank's question, please?
In the tournament, I did a lot of more just covering water. Like it was apparent to me, and as soon as he's talking on Neely Henry, it was apparent to me that there weren't like just loads of fish like in one area. I guess Gleason found him on the first day. He was catching like 2 at a time on a trap and then left him biting and never found him again. But the way I kind of understood it in my head, I kind of looked at those bigger spots as like loners that were just out like shark weeking little shad along seawalls and stuff, right? So as long as I was in like kind of the right area, I was like, all I got to do is keep chucking this thing and bring it in front of one. So the more water I can cover and the more casts I can make, the more chance I have of putting it in front of one that'll eat it. So in practice, I got a couple bites, but I would do a lot of running and just stopping and fishing. And in the tournament, I just put that sucker down and went. And I created a milk run. So I would create I had a milk run of like 6 or 7, like either natural or man-made or chunk rock or like kind of straight wall seawalls. Yeah. And as I was running that, like it took about an hour to run that whole circle. I fished each one probably 6 or 7 times. Yeah. I would like throw in something random. So like each time I would be like, oh, I'm going to go back and fish this. That was my hub, right? Yeah. Yeah. And I was building the spokes. I would have built those spokes better if I'd had more practice time. Yeah. But I was kind of building the spokes as I went. And it paid off each day. Like, I dipped into Canoe Creek on the first day and caught that 2.5 pound spot. Or I dipped off into that culvert and caught a couple. And then when you add that to your main rotation and stuff. So that's what I did. I basically just drove in a giant circle for 7 hours each day.
All right. I have to ask you this. Do you think only having a day and a half practice helped you?
Just the way everything worked out, it's hard to say, but I would really have liked to have another full day of practice to just go try to add another half dozen spots. Because I got really tired of fishing. They were long stretches too, but yeah. I think another day knowing what I needed to look for. Mm-hmm. Now, if I hadn't had the morning like I had Wednesday morning, like if I had, I don't know what I would have done during those other days of practice. Yeah. But just the way it worked out, the last morning is when I figured it out and got really confident in it.
It's hard
to answer that.
Drew in Texas on the YouTube feedback says, Mark's going to need a lot of fill-in time for Matt if you make the Elite Series. Actually...
No, I'll do it from the road.
Yeah, actually, it would really, really kind of open things up a little bit. There might be a few days that...
There's a story about a cart and a horse and which comes first. Yeah. So let's worry about that bridge. Yeah. Cross that bridge when we get there.
It is what it is.
Saying.
All right, real quick, I don't want to deviate from the bass conversation too much, but dude, this really bothered me yesterday. You might have seen the highlights of Andy Dalton getting absolutely crushed by Joe Bostic yesterday in the Washington-Dallas game. And I was infuriated, I guess is the word. I was pissed off because nobody came to Andy Dalton's defense when this took place. All right, dude, what happens in a hockey game when somebody goes after your star player and really, really has a nasty hit on that star player?
The fourth liner on the ice.
Yeah, but what happens right there on the ice when that takes place?
Fight.
Dude, you protect your best player. In football, you protect your quarterback. And to see all the Dallas Cowboys just stand around going, oh, dude, that was rough.
Was it a cheap hit?
Oh, yeah. He got kicked out of the game.
Oh.
And he's probably going to get suspended. But all the Cowboy players, they just stood around and watched. They didn't go after Bostic. They didn't do anything. Nobody stuck up for Andy Dalton. Now, I'm not a Cowboy fan. And quite honestly, I'm not really that much of an NFL fan, but I was watching this yesterday.
Was he hurt?
Yeah, I think he got a concussion.
Dalton?
Yeah, he left the game, done,
so
finished.
Who's their quarterback now?
Some dude that played at James Madison. He was like a 7th-round pick.
Did he do good?
I don't know. I watched like 3 downs and turned the channel because I was.
But it infuriated you that they didn't jump up to his defense.
They did nothing. It's like, oh yeah, we don't care about our quarterback. We don't care about Andy Dalton. It was ridiculous. It was one of the most disrespectful team things I have ever seen in professional sports. Well, guess who ripped him a new one? The coach.
Mark McCarthy.
Yeah. There was actually a story in the newspaper today about how he ripped his players for not sticking up for his teammate, and especially at your quarterback, dude. It's the leader of your team. I don't care if what's his name's hurt, with the broken ankle.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name?
Dak.
Dak Prescott. It's like that's your quarterback, and he just got absolutely smashed by Joe Bostic. Anyway, I hope Bostic gets suspended for 6 games or even more because he deserves to. It was a dirty hit.
That infuriated you.
Bad.
Ben DiNucci?
That's him. Played at James Madison.
Wow.
Anyway, if you want to refer it back to fishing, you see a lot of people that go through adversity and do some really not often. I mean, not in fishing. You don't see people do dirty stuff.
Oh, he's a rookie too.
It's just, folks, I know I say, hey, we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we talk about. I think I've earned the moment to voice my displeasure of the lack of standing up for your teammates and your quarterback, for crying out loud. Dude, when we're off the show, pull up the clip and look at the hit.
Yeah.
It's nasty.
I'm pulling it up and looking at the clip on the show.
Oh, nasty, nasty, nasty. All right. The next thing I want to talk about the rest of the week. Great shows lined up.
Dang.
Yeah, did you see it?
Oh, man.
Yeah, and look what the Cowboys players are doing. They're just standing around looking.
Oh.
They're doing nothing. Anyway, so the rest of the week, great shows. We're going to have David Mullins on tomorrow, the man that's leading the Angler of the Year race. And then,
how about that?
Yeah, it's nasty, nasty hit.
No, I'm talking about David Mullins leading the Angler of the Year race.
Yeah, when I set it up, he was just like, yeah, well, got one event left. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Anyway, so we'll talk to David on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, a double dip. We're going to have Frank Talley on, and then we're also going to have Brandon Polinick on live from the water.
I have become a fan of Frank Talley.
Dude.
I like watching his stuff. I like following him on social media. He seems like a genuine guy. I've read about him. It's kind of the first. Got that V8 stuck in the throat there. There's the generation of anglers that have come onto the Elite Series over the last couple of years, which we're not at every single Elite Series event now.
Yeah.
So from 2008 to 2017. 2018? Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2018. I was at every single Elite Series event. So, dude, I remember Polinick coming onto the Elite Series and Zaldane making it and all sorts of this stuff. But this is kind of like the new crop of guys that you don't. Yeah. We don't know, on a personal level because we don't see them every day out there covering it.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad. That was talk about a grind.
It was a grind. It definitely was a grind. Frank, good dude, man. He the way he approached making the Elite Series and what he did, very, very impressive. So we're going to have Frank on, and he was excited to be a part of the show for the first time. First time we'll have him on. All right, man. The other thing that was announced while you were gone, and I want to let everybody know, I am working this week on getting a guest, hopefully maybe in studio, to discuss what is going on. We didn't even really talk about the Big Five, but the schedule was announced for the 2021 Bass Pro Tour, And I want to read this real quick, Matt. This was a story that was on CNBC, and it was related to television.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let me just read these two very short paragraphs. There is quite the consensus emerging from the hallways of the boardrooms of American media companies. They expect about 25 million U.S. households to cancel their pay TV subscriptions over the next 5 years. This on top of the 25 million homes that have already cut the cord since 2012. At least 3 major media companies now expect pay TV subscriptions to stabilize around 50 million, according to people familiar with the matter, who declined to speak on the record because their company plans are private. The projected decline in subscribers will mean a drop of $25 billion in cable subscription revenue, plus associated advertising losses for the largest U.S. media companies, including Disney, Comcast, NBC Universal, AT&T, Time Warner, Viacom, Fox, Discovery, Sinclair, and AMC networks. All right. What I just said, what does that mean for fishing?
I mean, it can't be good.
Do you see the correlation between what I just read and the premise that television has with professional fishing?
Yeah, explain it.
Do you see it? All right. In other words, all the media people agree that television is declining.
Mm-hmm.
The whole cut the cord thing since 2012. The premise of being on television from a professional fishing standpoint, I think, is becoming lesser and lesser important.
Because the media is being consumed digitally.
Correct.
Yes.
All right. Because when you look at those numbers and you look at what Wall Street is saying from a media company perspective on what the consumer is doing with their media entertainment, the vast shift is obviously to digital.
Right.
Okay. Now, there was a lot of other stuff, and I will try to put the link up there if you care to take the time and read about it. It was a fascinating story on CNBC. But with Major League Fishing, where is the premise?
TV. Right?
It's TV. I mean, that's where the emphasis is really being placed on the
number of hours across a number of networks.
On Discovery.
With the only way to consume it being either the My Outdoor TV app or the television. Because, I mean, they apparently have been filming shows like all the time now for some tournaments that some guys somehow qualified for. I don't know. But the only way to consume those will be on TV.
Yeah.
Initially.
Correct. And then obviously you can do the on-demand stuff and they'll throw stuff, I'm assuming, out on the website as far as content from these events. But the premise is television.
Can you name a pro that has won one of the filmed cups that aired on television?
Man.
Name one of them.
I have no idea. Did Rabanus win one?
I don't know the answer. I was hoping.
I don't know. I don't know.
I can't either. I mean, I could name the winners of the BPT stops fairly efficiently, but I can't name any of the...
If I could watch it on this thing right here...
I would know who won the cups.
Okay, so is my point taken?
Yeah. Whoa, hell yeah.
All right. And with all the data that's coming out on the number of cords that are being pulled, should we see or could we see a dynamic shift to where television just doesn't matter from a professional fishing standpoint?
I don't know. I think they'll always be.
Okay, it might always be.
But that's what you're saying is you could say the same thing about Bassmaster Magazine. But Bassmaster Magazine is still, I think, an integral part of professional fishing. You could say the exact same thing about the magazine. The TV show, the TV stuff is going to be in 3 or 4 years where the magazine is right now. Or where the magazine was 5 years ago.
I think the magazine is
Remember
just a
when
when
all the websites and stuff came out and they're like, oh, this is devaluing Bassmaster Magazine.
Well, it is.
No, it's still I think an integral part, very valuable. It's still a mainstay. It's still on the coffee table.
But it's
still
not,
out there.
But its role has changed.
I still read the Bassmaster magazine articles way more than I do the daily articles on websites.
Whoa. Time out. You're telling me that you spend more time reading Bassmaster magazine than you do on social media and YouTube?
Reading articles about techniques and stuff?
I'm talking about your time.
No, not my time.
Spent.
No.
That's what's important, Matt. It's not where you're reading your stories.
Right,
at.
but if I'm going to consume that type of story, I'm just saying I'm consuming that through the magazine still. Even though it's an obsolete form of...
But that is a minimal part
I
of
use
the
that
time.
in air quotes. I still think of the print version is very integral to the organization, just like the TV shows.
I'm not saying that because if you get the membership, you get the magazine.
But yes, less and less significant. For both. For the TV shows.
Yeah.
Isn't Bass not even doing a TV show for this last couple?
Well, the ones that they did that were live on ESPN, they didn't do TV shows for.
Yeah.
But the premise of Major League Fishing, or the importance of television for Major League Fishing, man, maybe they need, and I'm working, I want to get John Acosta or Boyd on the show to actually talk about this subject and talk about the schedule. Because when I looked at the schedule, I'm just going to say this, and I'm not going to say from a opinion standpoint, the statement that I'm going to make is this. They had an opportunity to go to bodies of water because the field size is only 40 boats. You had two things.
It's 40?
Yeah, because you remember they have rounds. Yeah, you have 40 boats for every round.
Yeah.
There are bodies of water across this great nation that could have been massively exposed and showcased based upon the formality of a 40-boat field on a body of water, as long as you had connectivity for the live functionality of the live stream. Agreed?
100%.
I think, and folks, you got to tell me, all right? But I think the fans in general are growing tired of the tours, both of them, going to the same bodies of water.
Lake St. Clair, Champlain, Chickamauga, Florida, Raleigh again, Sam Rayburn.
Folks, you tell me.
Which one are they going to in Austin?
Travis.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been there before. Would it not have generated more buzz, more interest, more flamboyant exposure for bodies of water?
Flamboyant exposure.
Yeah. That tournaments have not been to.
Flamboyant exposure.
Oh, yeah. You like that?
Did a lot of that in college?
Sometimes.
What? No, it's not. It's.
Is it a point that is valid? Yes or no?
100%.
I and
Listen, I'm not.
I want to hear what they have to say about that.
I'm not against having the Wrigley Fields and the Lambeau Fields or the Daytona 500s on the schedule every single year.
Yeah.
Bass has turned Waddington into that. They have done that. Gunnersville is one of those venues.
But
Rayburn
do you have
is one
to
of those
go
venues.
there every single year?
I got no problem with one or two things that, as a litmus test, it's the same thing every year. They go to the racetracks every single year that are the same racetracks. They always go to they go to the same damn racetracks. Now, I know
you can't pick them up and move them, dude.
Right. I understand that. But there is something about, in my opinion now, when the Elite Series goes to Waddington, there's something special about that first year when Brandon won it.
Yeah.
And then you start getting the history. And you've got the KVD spy bait stuff. And you've got the snap of the tube. And the catching them deep. And the topwaters. And the hair jigs. And the beat downs. And the rivers off limits. And it's not. And now you're growing a history. And now you go past the this is boring point to the this is the 7th, 8th, 9th time they've come. Which way is it going to be won? And it gets interesting again. Because now everybody's got familiarity with the fishery. And you know what to expect. And you can tell how paths are going to go down. For a couple of them. Every year. I'm fine with that. But yeah, I mean, switch the dang thing up. When you have the opportunity, like you're saying. for bass and for MLF.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I think even though we're seeing crappy weights and guys not catching limits and struggling, I think you're seeing a lot of interest in these fall tournaments.
I agree.
At least I am. I mean, dude, you had Jake Whitaker throwing a spinning rod on marina docks on Lake Chickamauga, a 3-incher, a 3-inch swim bait, and making the. I mean, dude,
I'm with you, man.
You had, was it Mike Huff catching fish off bluff walls?
Yeah.
In Clearwater, while Lee Livesey was frogging the mats, and the local favorite isn't even fishing, and anything over 3, they're going nuts over.
I know.
Hell yeah.
I know.
You got Chris Zaldane making cuts, weighing in 2, 3, 4 fish a day. I mean, the guy's going to make the Classic and be way up there and earn money in all these tournaments, and I don't think he's weighed in a full limit on 3 days of competition for the past month.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Hey, when we had Frank on last week, we asked the fans, do you prefer the grinders? Do you prefer the swing fest? And so many people, vast majority of people said the grinds. They love the grinds.
I think it's cool to see a grind on a swing fest lake.
On a what?
A swing fest lake, a grind on a Chickamauga and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not even going to say anything about this, but I want you to say something about it. I've been down that path.
Yeah.
Now it's your turn. Mm-hmm. So, 2021 Academy Sports and Outdoors Bassmaster Classic takes place on Lake Ray Roberts in Fort Worth, Texas, March 19th through the 21st.
Yeah.
The 2021 Bass Pro Tour Stage 1 takes place on Sam Rayburn in Jasper, Texas.
Yeah.
March 21st through the 26th.
Yeah.
Those guys get a day and a half of practice, meaning all the anglers fishing the Bass Pro Tour will be in Jasper, Texas, getting sauced at the stump on March 19th and 20th.
Yeah.
The days that the expo will be taking place, just a few hours away at Ray Roberts.
Yeah.
Depending on how this COVID stuff goes down.
Right. Yep.
The floor is yours.
Well, that's part of the conversation that we're going to have, either with John Acosta or Boyd when they have them on here, because it's quite obvious they have drawn the line in the sand and said, you're with us. We're over here. You're not going to have any part of the Classic when it comes to the expo. And the fans are going to have to choose. Well, I mean, are they really going to have to choose? What's the last day of the Classic? Sunday? They technically start on the 21st. They start on Sunday.
Their first day of the season will be the last day of the Classic. So you will have the MLF live fired up while some guys win in the Classic. Like I said, the floor is yours. I could.
They have, like I said, they've drawn the line in the sand. And I think the fallout and the response is going to be from the fans. What are the fans going to do? Dude, how many times have I said on this show about having a conference or a summit meeting when FLW existed and said, look, folks, we need to all get in one room and gather around the table and get these schedules worked out to where nobody's schedules on top of each other.
Yeah, well,
have I not said that?
Yeah, but there's a key word here that did not really exist during the last 10 years of FLW and Bass: animosity.
That's what it is. And they have drawn that line. And remember months, maybe even a couple years ago, Boyd was on this show and he talked about, no, we're not in a competition. We're not in a competition. And then a year later, what was his comments?
Yeah, they are.
We're in a competition. Well, obviously now they're going head to head with the Bassmaster Classic on the final day, and we're going to see what happens.
If you are Company X, and you pay, we'll just say 3 anglers. Angler K, you pay 3 anglers. Angler K, Angler V, and Angler D, okay? And you're Company S.
Yeah.
You pay Angler K, Angler V, and
That's a lot of
Angler
letters.
to represent your brand handsomely.
Yeah.
Where do you want them during the, quote, Super Bowl of bass fishing if they're not on the water competing in it?
You want them at the Bassmaster Classic.
I would think.
If they have a show. I mean, obviously.
This is a hypothetical
discussion. With all the
discussion.
COVID stuff. I would believe that they would want them to be at the show. But you bring up a great point, Matt. What is this doing to the sponsorship? They got to choose. Either they're going to split their money up or they're going to go, you know what, we're going to put all these resources into the Classic. And we're going to put half our resources into Major League Fishing, half into bass. Or we're going to put all of our resources into Major League Fishing.
Because you've got a bunch of companies that are involved
happened.
in both, right?
This has never happened.
So if I'm a company, a title spot, what, Bad Boy Mowers, Venmo,
yeah, whatever. I know what you're saying.
I just need to shut up. And you've signed a deal. Oh yeah, we're gonna be the title sponsor for the first BPT of the year.
Yeah.
Big numbers. I mean, they can say, look at all the numbers we've had for the first one. It's down on Rayburn, big bass early in the year. And then you find out that tournament is scheduled to start the last day of the Classic. Are you feeling like you're getting less bang for your buck? Because you have to know that there's going to be less eyes on that event considering it's starting the last day of the Bassmaster Classic. Which the numbers came out for the Bassmaster Classic without the guys who normally fish in the Bassmaster Classic, and they're still pretty dang good last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So does that create an issue then? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or let's say you're a sponsor that's like, yeah, we'll get a booth at the Bassmaster Classic, even though most of our guys go over there and fish the BPT. Well, why would you even mess with bass now? Why wouldn't you just put all your eggs in the BPT basket now? Like, we didn't really have anyone over there at Bass. That booth's kind of expensive. All our guys are fishing over here. Let's get their year started right and put all our funds towards that.
Oh, man, a lot of comments on the instant feedback. A lot of comments. A lot of comments agreeing with me over on the Bass Zone side that they need to go somewhere else. They're getting tired of going to the same events.
See, you're even awkward talking about this Classic Red Crest thing. You're trying to change the subject back to going to the same venues.
I don't like it. How about that? I don't like it. As a fan, I don't like it. Now,
what do you think the reasoning was, in your opinion? It's a business decision. 100%. Would you not agree this is a business decision? Yeah. It wasn't, boy, we only have one weekend open in March.
Yeah.
Boy, we really hate to do this, but, it's either don't fish at Rayburn or not have the have it on top of the Classic. This was a business decision. Would you not agree?
Yeah.
In your opinion, what is the purpose of that business decision? That's an honest, serious question that I'm asking you, Mark.
I think finally it was time to say, okay, what are you going to respond to?
I agree.
That's what it was.
Putting their feet to the fire. They're going to find out where the allegiance is with their sponsors. They're going to find out where the allegiance is with Bass sponsors, and they're going to find out where the allegiance is with the fans based on the numbers. 100%?
100%.
Hey, we're 3 years into this thing. We were easy year one. We let you know it was a competition year two, and now we're going to see where we freaking stack up year three.
Yeah. It's a competition, dude. And to go up with... And we've heard people on the MLF side say, we've heard anglers say, that the crown jewel of bass fishing is the Bassmaster Classic. Now they're going heads up with the biggest event in bass fishing. I mean, I'm sorry, the Red Crest is not there yet.
This is a great point that Bobby Colson brought up. A lot of growing the sport, the biggest cliche.
Yeah.
And what's best for the sport and what's best for the anglers.
Yeah. I don't know how to respond to that, dude.
That's why I didn't say anything after that.
I know. It's man, it's just it's kind of frustrating from a fan's standpoint and from a person that has covered this game for almost 30 years to see this situation take place. I don't know. I'm going to try and get John on. I'm going to try to get Boyd
it's a
on.
business
Either
move.
way.
It's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
You have that it's Dancing with the Stars going head to head against America's Got Talent is what it is. Would you not agree?
I agree. And I think the fans are going to make the
Which
choice.
happens
Dude,
in absolutely everything where you have a choice. You have head-to-head competition. So we're sitting here talking about why can't everyone go work along at it? And if you're looking at it from a business perspective, you're saying we're trying to win and they're trying to win. So why are you guys making a big deal about scheduling on top? We're doing our thing. They're doing their thing. We're trying to provide the best product. They're trying to provide the best product. This is a business move on our end. It was a business move on their end. And let's have at it. It's like that in every single other aspect, isn't it?
It's a great point.
We're just putting a personal or a spin on it because of our passion and our dedication to the sport.
Yeah.
If you're looking at it from the opposite, if you've got some team or bowling thing a head-to-head against another bowling thing, I'd just be like, well, crap, just pick the one you like to watch the most. It's not a big deal. Or watch them both. It's not the end of the world.
No.
So what? They schedule on top of each other. You can switch back and forth. You can say, oh, look, Faircloth just caught 193 pounds on Rayburn. And
man, I was trying to think of something else that would compare to it. Two entities, two huge events.
It's Dancing with the Stars versus America's Got. It's the same thing on different networks.
I got that, but from a sporting perspective.
From a sporting perspective,
I can't really think anything. And I'm trying to think golf. I'm trying to think basketball, baseball. You don't have multiple leagues
where you
doing the
schedule
same
on
thing.
top of the Masters.
Yeah.
Or Wimbledon.
I mean, there's people, I know that there's entities, even though they're not involved in the same sport, that will not schedule on top of something else that's going on.
Right.
Because they know that the viewership is going to be diluted. Because of the fans having to make a choice in watching. So, yeah, I think you're dead on, Matthew. It's a business decision, and we're going to see how the fans respond. I am intrigued with how the sponsors are going to respond.
So, what are the options? Responses from sponsors. What are the options? You only sponsor Bass. Let's just run through this scenario.
Well, there's three
you only
options.
sponsor Bass. You only sponsor MLF,
or
you
split.
sponsor both, or you just can't figure it out. And you don't sponsor anybody.
Well, yeah, I guess there is 4 options.
You call Mark and your title sponsor BTL.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think you'll see a lot do both. Because, dude, the sponsors, the guys who make the decisions in the boardroom for sponsors, a lot of them have personal relationships with the anglers. Would you not agree?
Yeah.
And they've got personal relationships with guys in the Classic, and they got personal relationships with guys fishing the BPT. And I think you'll see a lot of them. I don't think this will be a clear-cut line in the sand. I think you'll see a lot of guys, a lot of companies that sponsor both the BPT stuff that week. You'll see commercials on that. You'll see the same commercials run during the BPT breaks that you will during the Classic breaks, in my opinion. I don't think they'll...
I don't know. I mean, maybe John will answer that question.
From a cost perspective, they're saying, hey, if the BPT or the Bassmaster Classic saying, hey, it's X amount of dollars to run your stuff during this week, and that takes their budget out from the BPT or vice versa.
Yeah, here's an example. Brett said the World Series waited until the NFL Sunday was over before Game 5.
Yeah.
So they didn't want, obviously, same viewership, fighting over viewership for that. Interesting point here. There's nothing like it because the role of sponsors in this game has a massive dramatic effect on what takes place in this industry. And that's a good point too. I mean, based upon you only have X amount of dollars, and where they decide to place those dollars in this very, very small industry is a choice. I think the other thing is the anglers and the way that their contracts are structured from a representation standpoint, as you brought up earlier. That's going to be somewhat unique to see how that's going to lay out. What? Mm-hmm. What?
Oh, Tackercraft said if MLF really wants to grow the sport, they should just remove the boats and make everyone fish from the bank in a pond.
So I don't know, folks. I'm working. I will work this week to try and get John or Boyd on next week to where we can discuss this. But I'm really disappointed, man, that they're not going to new bodies of water. I'm not trying to deflect it away from the Sam Rayburn Classic situation. I really am. I really think that there are communities out there, and as we have said, and if you've been under a rock and don't realize it, these events and the venues, it's all about the money.
Yeah, so...
And you got to write the check if you're going to a specific venue for that community. You're telling me that there's not other communities that would want the representation of whatever body of water that they have in their community to bring in another event?
My deal is, so the one BPT event that I really kind of was looking forward to the first time they went there was that Falls Sharon Harris deal in North Carolina. Dude, there's got to be a bunch of other lakes like that out there. Yeah. I see too many people double fisting 5 and 6 pounders on Instagram that came out of little lakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree with you. Like I said, I mean, I like the Yankee stadiums to be on the schedule a lot, but man, it would be intriguing to see a schedule where you go, where?
Yeah.
What? Where?
Yeah.
I look what happened.
Hey, when they went to Jordan the first time, what happened? That whole area exploded.
In Alabama?
No. In North Carolina.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Falls and Sharon Harris and Jordan.
So
I liked when the Bass events went to, Decatur, Shelbyville, Lake Jordan.
Yeah. Do the fans think the same? I think they do. I think they want different lakes. Instead of going to the same ones over and over and over and over. I wonder when Bass is going to come out with their schedule. Soon?
Yeah, I don't know.
Soon, maybe.
That's the other thing. Yeah, they're paying to play this year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Wait. So technically, there will be anglers.
What?
There will be anglers on the 21st of March next year who could be getting paid promotional days to be at the Bassmaster Classic, but instead will have paid an entry fee to be fishing on Rayburn.
Yeah.
Now the upside's much better. They could win a lot more money on Rayburn. I'm just saying.
What is it, $100,000?
There's a little flip there, though.
Yeah.
I mean, instead of getting paid their $1,500 a day or whatever to glad hand and kiss babies with a mask on.
Hey, will it even take place? I don't know, man. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff going on. Even look at the last comment on the YouTube comments, dude.
What's that?
You see it?
No.
Right there. Oh.
I'm all about new water, Frank Scalers.
Yeah.
100% agree. Different angle.
Yeah. So, folks, I will work on it. I will keep you posted, and hopefully we can get either Boyd or John on the show next week, depending upon their schedule. All right, Matthew. Long show, 90-minute show, but well-deserved to recognize what you have done over the last 2 weeks. And when's your next
I broke stuff and had decent finishes.
It's a great story, man. Come on.
Let's not blow this out of proportion. I've broken a lot of things. I've had decent finishes. And really, I am being commended for not having meltdowns. Is all this has come down to.
Yeah.
I really need to win one of these suckers.
You will eventually.
I really
You
need.
will.
I need to start top 5 and then winning. Then I'll come in here and be proud of it.
Yeah.
This
You
is
will.
all part of the process.
It's all good, man. All right. When's your next event?
Louisville.
Really?
Yeah.
No other federation stuff or anything like that?
No, it's done. Made the state team over. Just waiting on seeing where regionals is.
Huh?
I got Louisville, and then I've got a little specialty event in December on Table Rock.
Can we go to Lake X? I did not make it to Lake X.
Do you think that they'll be chewing?
Not yet. I think give it a week or two. I have a contact up there. He's been sending me stuff. Not there yet, Mark. Not there yet.
Can we spend part of the day trying to target other species?
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
give it away.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm in.
yeah.
I'm
Oh,
in.
yeah.
I'm in. I gotta get a new prop though. I got 2 new props.
2 new props. All right, folks. Greatly appreciate your feedback on the instant feedback and the YouTube feedback. If you do not subscribe to us on YouTube, please do that. It helps us out tremendously. And then, obviously, if you're listening to us on iTunes, man, I didn't tell you. You didn't know. We're on Amazon now.
What do you mean?
The podcast is on Amazon.
Really?
Music now. Yeah.
Along with all of the Zaldane stuff on Bassmaster.
Yeah. So we're on Amazon now, folks.
Cool. How'd you get that?
Huh?
Is that just something you sign up for? Like they have.
Yeah,
their-
it has to be approved. And
Oh, very
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, so we're on Amazon now.
That's
so
big.
Cool stuff. Yeah,
Do we
really
get like
cool.
a discount?
No. You're always looking for the deal, aren't you? No, we don't get a discount. All right, folks. If you are listening to us on iTunes on the podcast, please leave us a review, give us a rating. That helps us out immensely. Helps him out, helps me out, and hopefully you want to continue to help us out. All right, that's it, folks. Stay warm. Be safe. Tomorrow, we're back with David Mullins. Everybody be safe.